The school visit. In one of the promo TV spots, we got Spider-Man sitting in a kindergarten classroom in a hospital gown and his mask on, right next to a nurse. And the joke is the reason he's there. Spidey went to get a shot in front of the kids to show them that needles aren't scary. The nurse introduces him kind of like this. Everybody knows Spider-Man goes up against terrifying villains, but do you know the one thing he's never afraid of? Needles. And then he takes the shot.
Thing he is never scared of? Needles. What the?
The genius detail is the line that comes right after. One of the kids blurts out that it's probably spider puberty.
What the?
It's probably spider puberty.
Hey, come on!
And that ties directly into the mutation Peter's going through for the entire movie. Before we start, this video has heavy spoilers for Spider-Man Brand New Day. If you haven't seen the movie yet, throw this in your watch later, drop a like to help me out, and come back later. The Night Nurse. At the end of Brand New Day, Peter takes a bullet from the Punisher and gets rushed to the hospital. And guess who was in that hospital? Rosario Dawson filmed a cameo as Claire Temple, that same nurse who patched up pretty much everybody in Daredevil, Luke Cage, and the other Marvel shows. And she confirmed herself that she got cut. Her words were blunt: "I got cut." According to the reports that came out later, the scene was Peter waking up in his mask and bumping into Claire while she was looking at an X-ray. A short, friendly little interaction, and then he'd be on his way. Worth remembering that it also would have been the first time she'd ever meet Frank Castle on screen. The fight that doesn't exist. In a press interview, Destin Daniel Cretton said there was an entire sequence that just got cut from the movie. And here's what he said: there was a scene where they throw a bunch of villains into one giant fight, and it ended up cut. He went on to say they were looking at a lot of old classics, that the team actually drew up a good chunk of them, and that it was a blast to work on. They designed the villains, locked in the look, put the choreography together, and the thing genuinely existed at some point in the edit. But yeah, it got dropped from the final cut. The Metal Man. If you blinked during the opening montage, you missed Ramrod. He's that villain with metal body parts who goes through walls like they're paper, and he wasn't even born as a Spider-Man villain. Ramrod debuted in 1973 in an issue of Daredevil. Only later did he move over to Spider-Man, in Amazing Spider-Man 221 from 1981. And it's that exact cover the movie recreates. Actor Billy Clements took the role really seriously. He said he studied every single Ramrod appearance in the comics to get the character right. And then the movie came out, and he only shows up in that one slow-motion shot in the opening montage, the one that recreates a comic book cover. You blink and he's gone. After the premiere, he confirmed that a lot of his material got cut. And look, he was classy about it. He said he was happy to have been part of it, even if it was just for a tiny piece. But you can feel the frustration in the middle of it, and it makes sense, right? A guy with a metal body who walks through concrete is exactly the kind of opponent who'd make for a great physical fight with Spidey. Odds are he was in that exact giant fight Cretton confirmed got cut. And Ramrod wasn't the only one. Take a look at Tombstone. The actor is Marvin Jones III, the same guy who voiced the character in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. He waited years to play Tombstone for real, in the flesh. The production built a full prosthetic for him, with an entire practical effects team, so he could show up in one shot, dangling Spidey off the side of a building. And when the makeup artist posted the behind the scenes, Marvin himself showed up in the comments with a single line: "We will be back. I know it." And look, everything points to him being right. The behind the scenes reports say the plan is to use Tombstone as a trilogy character, not a one-off appearance. The Ninjas. This one has no official confirmation, but in a breakdown put together by fans after the premiere, a shot showed up of Spider-Man facing off against the Hand. And for anyone who doesn't know, the Hand is that ninja clan that tormented Daredevil across the entire show, and they make a small appearance here in Brand New Day. Except this group isn't a Spider-Man villain, they belong to the more street-level side of Marvel, like the shows. So look at the size of this coincidence. A movie that already had the Punisher, that was already going to have the nurse from Daredevil, and that takes place after season 2 of Daredevil. Born Again, with Matt Murdock locked up. That doesn't look like an accident. It looks like a movie that was way more tied into that universe than the final result lets on. And I could be completely wrong about this, Reed, but if it's true, Marvel pruned an entire bridge between Spidey and Hell's Kitchen. The covers that vanished. And speaking of the movie's opening montage, it hides the quietest cut in the whole film. The team's idea was to recreate classic Spider-Man comic book covers as live-action shots, and the plan was to recreate more than 50 iconic Spider-Man covers. Less than half made it into the final cut. Think about the work that means. Each one of those covers takes research, approval, lighting, camera blocking, and the actor in the exact right position. That's not something you do by accident. But sadly, it got cut. The Wrong Hulk. This one's confirmed, and it came from the most unlikely place. The art book for the movie, which leaked before the premiere. In Brand New Day, Bruce Banner ends up falling under Jean Grey's mind control and turns into a way more savage version of the Hulk. Except in the original version, he wasn't going to be green. The concept art shows a gray Hulk, and it's not the gray Hulk from the comics, the smarter, chattier one. The idea was the opposite, a creature even more monstrous, bigger, and more out of control than the Green Hulk from any previous movie. And the reason for the cut, according to the book itself, is almost disappointing in how how simple it is. Audiences needed the familiar green version, so it wasn't a technical problem or a story problem, it was fear of confusing the audience. But pay attention to this, because the idea didn't die completely. They dropped the color and kept the rest. The Hulk in this movie is visibly bigger and heavier than the one in Age of Ultron, and the art team worked to make Mark Ruffalo's features less human. The grave. In August of 2025, set photos showed Tom Holland kneeling in front of a headstone in a beanie and a coat in a cemetery, and he wasn't alone. Zendaya showed up in the photos right beside him. Except there's one detail that changes everything. The photos show snow machines running. The fan breakdown points to exactly that. The version that made it to theaters has Peter going alone to Aunt May's grave, telling the headstone that he's not doing this alone anymore and walking away. No MJ. And the weight of that is enormous because MJ doesn't remember who Peter is. The spell erased her memory of him. So MJ standing at the grave of a woman she technically never met would be the first big sign of her memory coming back. The movie handled that a different way, with smaller moments. And it's actually a defensible choice because the cemetery scene probably would have been way too obvious. Worth saying that not even the fans can call it for sure whether the scene was cut or if Zendaya was just there supporting Tom off camera. The nightmare. And now the most bizarre one of all, confirmed by Tom Holland himself. In the comics, there's a thing called Man-Spider. It's Peter losing control of the mutation and turning into an actual freak of nature with extra arms, extra eyes, and nothing human left. And Holland confirmed they explored nightmare sequences with Peter waking up as Man-Spider. Here's what he said. They explored it and very quickly realized they wanted kids to enjoy the movie too, and that it was a little too creepy, so it got cut because of the rating. But the best part comes now because he shared an idea he pitched himself. Holland actually suggested that Peter have fangs coming out of his hands and spikes that would inject venom. And he added laughing, "That's not in the movie, you can relax." The Queen. And here we step away from the deleted scenes and go to the villain who got cut before she even existed. According to behind-the-scenes reports, the big villain of Brand New Day wasn't going to be Sadie Sink's character. It was going to be the Leper Queen, and this character is heavy. She shows up very little in the comics, but she's responsible for an absurd number of deaths. Her origin is the kind of thing Marvel rarely adapts. Her daughter manifested mutant powers and set their own house on fire. The girl died right there, and the mother came out alive, but disfigured by the burns. That's where her name and her hatred come from. She became an anti-mutant extremist and founded an entire league to hunt mutants down. The Sapien League, responsible for the deaths of hundreds of mutants and thousands of humans, which means the movie would have had an X-Men villain at the center of the story. And the production reportedly offered the role to Anne Hathaway and to Sarah Snook. Both of them turned it down, and the reason given was the same. The part was too small. And there's an irony here. Hathaway had already been cast as Black Cat in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4, the one that never happened. So she's lost this franchise twice now. And the detail that ties it all together, with the main villain out, the reports say Sadie Sink's character grew exactly to fill that hole. The symbiote. And if you thought it couldn't get more different than that, hold on. Remember the end of Spider-Man? No Way Home? Eddie Brock goes back to his own universe, but leaves a little piece of the symbiote behind. That thing has been sitting in the Marvel Cinematic Universe this whole time. And the reports say Sony wanted to use that exact fragment as the engine of Brand New Day. Peter would find the symbiote, get the black suit, and the movie would finally stitch the Venom universe together with the MCU's Spider-Man. And that wasn't all. There was a subplot with Null, the god of the symbiotes played by Andy Serkis, who showed up in the post-credits scene of Venom: The Last Dance. When Serkis was cast, he mentioned himself that there were bigger plans for the character. Now we can understand what he was talking about. Except that's where the tug of war came in. Sony wanted a giant event, the size of No Way Home. They even wanted to bring Toby and Andrew back again. But Marvel wanted a smaller story centered on Peter. And Marvel won. The symbiote is still sitting there waiting. The version he hated. And the last one is the most important cut of them all because it almost changed the soul of the movie. Tom Holland said there was a version of Brand New Day that he hated. According to him, that version took notes from random people in test screenings. His words were blunt. We hated it. It just didn't work. And you can understand what happened there. Test screenings usually ask for more lightness, more jokes, less silence. And this movie is about a guy who got erased from the memory of everyone he loves. If you take out the weight, you take out the movie. And there's physical proof of it. A trailer that leaked in 2025 showed different dialogue between Peter and the Punisher during the fight with the Hulk. And the conversation between Peter and Banner had a different performance from the one that stayed in, which means those scenes got redone at some point, and the direction they went in was to be funnier. So this whole video is about things we lost, but this last topic is about what we almost lost, because Holland and the director fought to keep Peter's emotional moments in the movie, and they won, thank God. And that's why Brand New Day ends the way it ends, and not like an action comedy. So which of these deleted scenes did you most want to see in the movie? Let us know down in the comments. On screen is a video where we showed the evolution of the Spider-Man suit in the movies. Click and watch it. I'll see you there.